Hello, this is Milo Correa once again. As you all know me, I'm a perpetual student of Pranic Healing and Master Choa Kok Sui's higher spiritual practices. Before we start, can you join me in a short prayer? Almighty God, thank you for your constant blessings. Enlighten our minds, empower our hearts and our spirits so that we will be constantly faithful to your divine plan for us here on earth. Amen. Last October 14, 2020, I shared my pranic healing journey, which I started in January of 2009. It was entitled 5 Stents in My Heart, with each stent reminding me of a major lesson I learned as I ventured deeper into pranic healing. Question is, did I immediately start out my 12-year journey as an all-out believer and supporter of pranic healing? If you will recall, I said initially that I was apprehensive about pranic healing. Well, actually, I was just trying to be subtle. The truth is, initially, I was very skeptical about the supposed pranic healing technology, asking myself, is there a science behind it? I was skeptical about the organization, asking myself, is it lawful? Is it legitimate? I felt uncomfortable about the practice of addressing instructors as master. Actually, it made me wonder whether this is a cult. Well, plus the fact that they charge a fee for the courses and not just rely on voluntary donations. Well, all these questions I eventually resolved, but let me share with you the vetting process that I subjected pranic healing to before I became more involved and more supportive. Well, to vet means to make a careful and critical examination. What were my practical, down-to-earth considerations to overcome the skepticism? As a lawyer, the practice I adopted is biased towards compliance with the law. For example, does pranic healing's existence have legal footing or legal support? While my college degree in psychology, which included 2 semesters courses on research methodology, made me look for empirical evidence as to the effectiveness of the healing techniques. Is there a science behind pranic healing? You will recall that I encountered pranic healing while recovering from angioplasty. And I was researching, surfing the internet on alternative modes of addressing my heart disease. I came across acupuncture, food supplements and herbals, chelation, or the process of injecting intravenously drugs to flush out calcium from the veins to clean up the plaques and blockages in the bloodstream. I used Google, the friendly Google, and I Googled using the search term Republic Act plus pranic healing. And one of the items which came up was Republic Act number 8423. The short title of the law is Traditional and Alternative Medicine Act of 1997. It took effect on December 9, 1997, or around 11 years before my heart attack in 2008. The implementing rules particularly mentioned pranic healing together with other modalities like Ayurveda, aromatherapy, acupuncture, acupressure, iridology, herbal or phytomedicine, homeopathy, nutraceuticals, reflexology, and of course, traditional Chinese medicine. I was pleasantly surprised to find out that worldwide there is a trend to promote integrative medicine, or the bringing together of conventional and complementary approaches together in a coordinated way. It emphasizes a holistic, patient-focused approach to healthcare and wellness, often including mental, emotional, functional, spiritual, social, and community aspects, and treating the whole person rather than just, for example, one organ system. In short, the law recognizes traditional and complementary medicine. While traditional or alternative healing practices may not necessarily fall within the context of modern scientific philosophical thinking, it is recognized by the ordinary Filipino to help maintain and improve their health. In the Philippines, there are healing practices performed in indigenous or tribal communities, such as hilot or oracion. This refers to modalities of traditional healing used by our ancestors to heal through prayers, chanting, mantras, and breathing or blowing on the affected part. We refer to an albularyo as the general practitioner of all indigenous modalities of healing, whether it be hilot, herbals, or just people who drive away or cast away evil spirits. Well, complementary medicine is the broader term used to include healthcare practices not necessarily part of traditional and, of course, conventional medicine. Alternative or complementary to what? The law uses the term biomedicine to refer to what is familiar to us, which is allopathic medicine, Western, regular or mainstream medicine, orthodox medicine, or cosmopolitan medicine. I consider pranic healing to be classified under complementary medicine or complementary healing. Under this law, it is defined as a holistic approach of healing which follows the principle of balancing energy. But I know now at this point, not necessarily at the beginning of my pranic healing journey, that pranic healing is more than that. And so, there is a law behind pranic healing, at least here in the Philippines. Having been assured that pranic healing is legitimate and lawful, I thought therefore that it's safe to try and explore. So first hurdle done, I then proceeded to examine the pranic healing organization. I asked myself, are these organizations registered with the relevant government regulatory agencies? In our case, these are the Securities and Exchange Commission, which registers, monitors, and regulates all corporations in the Philippines, foundations included, and the Bureau of Internal Revenue, the tax authority here in the Philippines. By the way, a foundation may be tax exempt, but it still has to submit an income tax return or ITR annually. And more importantly, it has to issue receipts to donors and contributors. Moreover, the earnings of a non-stock, non-profit corporation, a foundation that come chiefly from donations, grants, or contributions should not benefit any of its trustees, organizers, officers, members, or any specific person. The tax rules list certain payments to individuals that are prohibited, so any violation would result in a revocation of the tax-exempt status. How are these monitored? Annual financial statements of these foundations should be audited by an independent external auditor before being submitted to the SEC and the BIR. Those who have been regularly attending these home sessions would be familiar by now with the different foundations which undertake the pranic healing mission. My first contact with the Pranic Healing Foundation of the Philippines was when I attended the basic pranic healing course. Subsequently, I became familiar with its related organizations like the World Pranic Healing Foundation Incorporated. Do you know how easy it is to verify and validate whether or not a corporation, foundation in this case, is registered? And to find out its status, that is, whether it's compliant with the repertorial requirements of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Well, it's not because I'm the former General Counsel of the SEC. But credit should be given to the advances in technology, particularly online transactions. Welcome to the digital world. All you have to do is go to the SEC website, that's sec.gov.ph, click on online services, then SEC Express System, and you will have access to corporate documents, copies of which you can have delivered by courier right into your homes or offices. You'll find a search window where you can type the name of the company you're interested in. Or you can just type in keywords in the company name. I tried typing in just Pranic Healing, and 5 company names popped out, which included, well, for our purposes, what is important is the Pranic Healing Foundation of the Philippines is Incorporated. Its registration number is A200207687. There's also the World Pranic Healing Foundation Incorporated, whose registration number is 001799412. If you click on the company names, this will lead you to a page where you find a list of documents available about the corporation, like its certificate of registration with SEC, together with the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, the general information sheet, which is an annual report about the current officers and members of the organization, and most importantly, the annual financial statements, which includes its income tax return marked received by the BIR. Click on financial statements and you will see that the Pranic Healing Foundation Incorporated is current in its submission. They are current as of year 2020. The next reports will be due only in April this year, 2021. You can also try typing in just MCKS in the search window for company names. If you do that, there will be 6 corporations which will be listed. You can disregard the others. What is relevant to us would be the MCKS Caring Heart Foundation Incorporated, whose registration number is CN2005-13875, and the MCKS Food for the Hungry Foundation Incorporated, the registration number of which is CN200406-461. Again, you can verify if these companies are compliant with the reportorial requirements by clicking on the company name and the particular report. Lastly, I tried typing in legal assistance. It resulted in quite a long list. But I found what I was looking for, which is the Humanitarian Legal Assistance Foundation Incorporated. Its registration number is A200202033. I checked the reports and they are also all current. In the Philippines, and it's true worldwide, it's tedious and difficult to operate and maintain a foundation or a non-stock non-profit, often referred to as NPOs, because of the numerous stringent rules and reports that have to be submitted and complied with. This came about because of the recent misuse and abuse of foundations, and it occurred worldwide. There were instances in the past when foundations were exploited and made a conduit for corruption money or terrorist financing. So what are the new rules? To start, the rules now require a minimum contributed capital of 1 million pesos. The amount is required to be deposited in the bank in the name of the foundation's treasurer in trust. To be registered with the SEC, you have to present a bank certificate of deposit in the amount of 1 million pesos. Well, that's equivalent to something like 20,000 US dollars. After that, to maintain your compliant status, you have to submit special reports regularly, such as a sworn statement of the president and the treasurer on the itemized sources and amounts of funds, the program activities planned, ongoing, and accomplished, with the complete names, addresses, and contact numbers of the implementers, and lastly, how the funds were applied. In addition to that, you have to submit certifications from the local government unit or the relevant national government agency, such as the Department of Social Welfare and Development or the Department of Health, whichever is the national government agency regulating your particular project, on the existence of the program activity in the locality, or, that's not available, certifications from the actual beneficiaries or recipients of the program. And all of this should be notarized. And there are requirements peculiar only to foundations. They are asked to submit location map of the exact principal office address and a statement of their willingness to be audited, should it be required. Thus, anyone who operates a foundation or several foundations, such as in this case of Master Choa Kok Sui's Pranic Healing Foundations, is indeed very serious about its mission. And because of that, they deserve recognition and respect. Now, of particular interest to lawyers is the Humanitarian Legal Assistance Foundation. It is a much respected and much appreciated by the different local government units, government organizations such as the Bureau of Jail Management and Protection, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, law schools, lawyer organizations, and it is the recipient of several awards of recognition and appreciation. Its staff are considered experts and are in-demand resource persons in the fields of juvenile justice, restorative justice, case management, reintegration, community organizing, criminal justice reform, and criminal law. They have the jail decongestion program, where they aim to secure the immediate release from prison of persons, especially children and women, who are already overstaying in jail. What do I mean why do I say overstaying? Well, these are those who have been staying in jail longer than the period equal to or even longer than the imposable penalty for the offenses with which they are charged. Children below 15 years old also should not be brought to jail. The foundation also takes pride in this program for the focused reintegration of ex-detainees. It's known by its acronym FRED. They prepare ex-detainees mentally, emotionally, and spiritually before they are released, so that they can rejoin their families and communities and adjust to life outside the jail more easily. This is perhaps why a number of lawyers gravitate towards Pranic Healing. It's an organization which undertakes this noble program, to the mind of a newbie, should be reputable. And now to my final point on the Pranic Healing vetting process. The search for empirical evidence and to prove the effectiveness of the Pranic Healing techniques, and/or the existence of prana or energy. As I was asking earlier, is there a science behind Pranic Healing? Well, the textbook definition of science goes, science is the pursuit and application of knowledge and understanding of the natural and social world following a systematic methodology based on evidence. Scientific methodology enumerates the need for evidence, experiment, objective observation, inductive reasoning, repetition, critical analysis, verification and testing. But to the mind of a layman, for a phenomena to transcend myth to something believable, it has to be manifest, which means it can be measured. There has to be evidence. It can be observed and experimented on, and the results can be replicated or repeated. In Master Choa Kok Sui's book, Miracles Through Pranic Healing, you will find 68 pages of testimonials. These are from people from all over the world. America, North, Central, South, Europe, and Asia. And mind you, these are not anonymous accounts. The testimonials contain the name of the patient, their address, occupation, age, illness or complaint, and the name of the healer. The first case dealt with thrombocytosis. Actually, it's the first time I read about it. and it's a condition marked by an abnormal increase in the number of blood platelets. Well, the testimonials included illnesses which range from simple complaints like abdominal pain, skin rashes, stiff neck, then migraine, arthritis, scoliosis, ovarian cyst, brain tumor, breast cancer, then Parkinson's disease. What is notable about these testimonies are the before and after accounts of the subjects. Most of them will start with a medical diagnosis of their condition, then a narrative of the circumstances of the healing, then the positive results. There are some who consider personal testimonies, or using the technical term anecdotal evidence, as unreliable, arguing that these are cherry-picked or otherwise not representative samples of typical cases, such as when only one or a few are presented. However, the testimonies or anecdotal evidence in Master Choa Kok Sui's book may be considered within the scope of scientific method, as some anecdotal evidence can be both empirical and verifiable. Take the case of case studies in medicine. Given the quality of some of these testimonies, they may be regarded as abbreviated case studies. Then there is this other book, Super Brain Yoga, where we can find 4 to 6 pages. That's page 71 to 117 of, again, testimonials. There are 4 individual testimonials, one involving ADHD or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, one with mild autism, then about improved academic performance. The rest of the pages discuss 4 studies on autistic children and troubled adolescents. It actually involved psychological experiments using psychometrics or psychological tests or measuring tools administered pre and post practice of Super Brain Yoga. Of particular interest to me were 2 studies of Dr. Glenn Joseph Mendoza, a doctor and a holder of a master's in public health. I saw him because he was one of the presenters during the 10th Global Pranic Healing Convention last May 2017 here in the Philippines. He is a strong advocate of evidence-based research. That means verifiable scientific evidence, research, and publications on pranic healing. Dr. Mendoza is the Chief Medical Director of the Pranic Healing Research Institute based in New Jersey, USA. He is one of only 8 master pranic healers in the world, having been trained personally by Master Choa Kok Sui. He is also the president of the Center for Pranic Healing based in Lyndhurst, New Jersey, USA. Of interest to skeptics may be one of the Institute's scientific studies, which was presented way back in 2015. And the title of the study is The Impact of the Meditation on Twin Hearts on Psychological Functioning and Quantitative EEG, a comparison of experienced and non-meditators. You can find a copy of the entire text of the research study in their website. That's pranichealingresearch.com. Its objective was to examine the impact of the meditation on twin hearts on psychological and cognitive functioning in regular meditators and new meditators using EEG or electroencephalogram to measure brain activity. Well, to do that, electrical cables and LEDs or detectors were, of course, attached to the head. This measured brain cognitive functioning, the speed and power of brain response to an external stimuli, as well as behavioral reaction time test. Pre and post MTH EEG measurements were taken, and pre and post psychological tests, basically questionnaires, were also administered. What is the conclusion? The study revealed immediate benefits to new meditators, and these are decrease in anxiety, improvement in cognitive functioning or mental abilities. Well, in general, this would include learning, thinking, reasoning, remembering, problem solving, decision making, and attention. The results also suggest that long-term practice of meditation on twin hearts results in different brain activation and additional long-term benefits on reduced anxiety, happiness, better and positive coping mechanisms, and improved reaction time. I got this brochure during the Global Pranic Healing Convention. In here, Dr. Mendoza recognizes the need for more pranic healing research. And to quote, he says, while the positive effects and outcomes of pranic healing are well known and documented to pranic healers and a small number of people in general, well, in the general public, there is paucity, scarcity or low number of empirical evidence demonstrating the scientific value of pranic healing. He further says, as Grandmaster Choa Kok Sui aptly said, the process of the union between science and spirituality is already in progress. In summary, I've presented three main points which skeptics can consider when deliberating whether or not to go into pranic healing. First, pranic healing is legitimate and lawful. In fact, in the Philippines, it is acknowledged as a complementary healing modality under the Traditional and Alternative Medicine Act of 1997. Secondly, the Pranic Healing Foundation of the Philippines Incorporated and its related organizations are lawfully conducting their operations and are compliant and current with the requirements of government regulatory agencies such as the SEC and the BIR. Thirdly, of interest to lawyers are the accomplishments of the Humanitarian Legal Assistance Foundation in their program to decongest jails, empower PDLs or persons deprived of liberty, and their successful reintegration to their family and society. Lastly, pranic healing is not averse to being investigated, studied, examined, tested, the healing outcomes measured and documented because there's an ongoing program for more pranic healing research. In this book, which is entitled The Existence of God is Self-Evident, MCKS admits that the concepts and principles of pranic healing and the spiritual practices he is espousing may not be for all. Well, to paraphrase Master Choa Kok Sui, he says, it is with great reluctance that the subject matter has been revealed. It is possible that some readers may not be able to comprehend pranic healing and may consider all of this as pure nonsense. He continues, the great spiritual teachers have repeatedly taught their students to practice discernment or intelligent evaluation. And I quote, a student must practice discernment. Do not believe a statement to be true just because someone said so. Do not believe something to be true because someone claims information has been received through inner transmission. Use discernment. Do not believe something to be true just because MCKS said so. Validate the truth for yourself. Use intelligent evaluation. If the student is not in a position to validate the truth as of the moment, then he should check at least the track record of the teacher, which is exactly what I had done. Have the previous teachings of the teacher been validated? If yes, then the other teachings may be considered to be tentative truth for the moment until the student is in a position to validate them for himself. Galileo, regarded as the father of modern science, was accused and found guilty of heresy by the Catholic Church. It just so happens that Galileo supported the earlier theory of Copernicus, propounded in the early 1500s, that the Earth revolved around the Sun. That's why on June 22, 1633, the Church handed down the following order. We pronounce, judge, and declare that you, said Galileo, have rendered yourself vehemently suspected by this holy office of heresy, that is, of having believed and held the doctrine, which is false and contrary to the holy and divine scriptures, that the sun is the center of the world, and that it does not move from east to west, and that the earth does move and is not the center of the world. It took more than 300 years for the church to admit that Galileo was right and agree with the science of ancient astronomers that the sun is the center of our galaxy and not the earth. Just because a belief is unpopular does not mean that it's not true. Just because a belief is misunderstood does not mean that it's not true. And just because sometimes people just refuse to understand does not mean that it's not true. I will leave it at that. Please join me in a closing prayer. Almighty Father, keep us faithful to our true selves, that we are your children, that we are one with you, that we are one with all and all of your creation. Amen. Thank you, everyone.